Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour. I am Kyle Anthony, your host. We're here. We have interviews, MMA banter, and betting advice. This week, UFC Vegas 86. We've got Joe Pyfer versus Jack Hermansson. We're going to be breaking down three plays like we always do on the show. And listen, if you've been following us from the beginning of 2024, we have been winning. We've been winning whether you're a client, whether you've been watching this show. We've been hitting plus money, big time underdogs, really good spots here. Really having a nice year so far. So if you want to become a client, link down in the description. Right now, I've got 4 plays posted for clients. 3 of them are at plus money. So, you know, I'm always out there hunting for that. Plus money's good money, like we always say here. So got that going on. If you want to become a client, check out Wagertalk.com. And then also the good people over at Underdog Fantasy Sports. If you want to get involved in that and go grab your free $100 over there, they're giving it away for new customers, whether you're going to be betting on or fantasy on the Super Bowl or whether you're looking to do it for the UFC or other sports. They got you covered over there. So take a look down there. Promo code Mr. UFC. So with that being said, let's dive into the main event of the evening between Joe Pyfer and Jack Hermansson. Now, you got Pyfer here. He's minus 275. He is a big favorite here. And you got Hermansson at the plus 220 mark. Now, you got Pyfer, and listen, everyone, UFC, they want to push this guy. He is the new hype train. They want to get him going. They want to get his face out there. All those things are looking to be happening. He's a strong wrestler where he has big power in his hands. And then on the other side of you've got Jack Hermansson, who is, you know, been around, a veteran, but a well-rounded fighter and does have that high pace that he's able to kind of go out there and push a pace over 5 rounds. Now, you're looking at this fight here. This is really going to be one of those fights where it's kind of like, you know, youth versus experience in this spot. You've got Hermansson, 31 professional fights overall. He's 23-8. Has definitely had some ups and some downs with his career overall. And when you're looking at it now, you know, even recently he, you know, fought Strickland, you know, and had a very close fight there, lost by decision, beat Chris Curtis, which was a fight where he didn't give Chris Curtis really the fight he wanted. He was able to kind of work at range, keep the pressure going and keep the footwork going, and didn't just go in there and brawl like Chris Curtis is, and he fucking complains about everything, Curtis. But he went out there and got that victory over Chris Curtis. Now you look at Pyfer now, 12-2 in his career, and he also is 5-0 in the UFC. Now listen, he has not faced the top level guys. We know that. We get that. But he has looked good. You know, 5-0, 4 of them by knockout, 1 by submission, has looked good and went out there, and you got to give him credit where it's due. And I know, again, he hasn't faced the top level guys, but Gerald Meerschaert victory, I thought, was impressive, going out there and getting that job done. And then fighting Alhassan in his last fight, where Alhassan is a big-time puncher, strong guy, and he went out there, got the takedowns, got that second-round finish, and I think it's pretty impressive kind of what he's done and how he's been able to do it. Now, stylistically speaking overall, there is no doubt that Hermansson's going to have that cardio advantage. Now, we have not seen really Pyfer's cardio, because he's just finishing these guys early. We have not had to see him go that far into fights or really exert a lot of energy. He's been able to kind of dictate the pace, find that knockout finish, or get the takedowns, or, you know, get that finish on Alhassan as he did. You know, those are the kind of things that has worked out well for him. Now, the thing about it is that's a path for Hermansson. If Hermansson can push the pace, kind of, you know, really get Pyfer working and maybe tire him out later, that could be a path for him. That could be an opportunity for him to go out and get a victory. Now, the big part about this that I really think that really kind of sticks out is the grappling. Now, the grappling side of things, you got Hermansson, who's a guy that, you know, he's lethal on the ground. He's got great transitions, good reversals. He will submission hunt, very intelligent on the ground. And like we talked about with Dalitze last week when we bet Imavov, you know, we were willing to pay up on the minus 160 because the path was there. And also the issue for Dalitze was there. Very similar to Hermansson, where Dalitze, very lethal on the ground. The guy is sensational when he is on the ground, but he just doesn't have wrestling. He doesn't have the ability to get the fight to the ground. And that is kind of where Hermansson is sitting at, where, you know, if he can get the fight to the ground, he's good. He's very intelligent. He can find those finishes and at least bank rounds, keep you down there. He just can't do it. He's got a 29% success rate on takedowns. And that's where someone like Pyfer, who is big, strong, has that physicality, I think can easily kind of kind of, create space or defend these takedowns and not have a problem. And that's really more where I do see this fight going to be playing more out on the feet. Now, you're looking at the Hermansson side. There's a lot of red flags. There's just a lot of red flags that I see in this fight. And really, I think the first thing is that Piper is getting Hermansson at a perfect time because he still has name value. He's still a known guy, still has had success, but he has not, fell off the cliff yet. Now, I'm not saying that's a definite of some sort, but, he's 35 years old, soon to be 36. This is we're heading towards the end of his career. And this is definitely a step up in competition. Any way you look at it for Piper, absolutely. But the 8-year age gap highly is going to favor the younger guy overall, Piper being 27. And also the fact that Jack Hermansson is coming off a knockout loss to Delice. Now, I think that looks terrible, having that, but you sprinkle in also the fact that Hermansson has been, I think it's 14 months, I think it is, that he has not fought. Now, that's also not good. He loses, he's taken some time off. Obviously, when you want to get knockout loss, you want to take some time off. But this guy, if he's looking to really push his career up, he has got to get back in there, and he's got to get those fights, and he's got to get things going. And this is a bad stylistic matchup and perfect, in my opinion, for Joe Piper. And when you're looking at, how the fight plays out, I like Piper's wrestling. I think that the wrestling is going to be enough for him to kind of create the space, and I don't believe there's going to be a Piper looking for takedowns. He can get it, and I think he can kind of, hang with Hermansson, but there's no need to kind of go into that realm. That's kind of even what Hermansson did to Delice when they fought. Hermansson, said, hey, I'll take you down. All of a sudden, he's in a pretzel and the fight's over. So I think Piper with Hermansson is not going to look to kind of go into a place where he could have success. I think it's going to play out very much on the feet. It could be one of those, kind of sprawl and brawl kind of situations. And the more it plays out on the feet, I think it highly favors Joe Piper. Jack Hermansson does have the volume, can push the pace, can keep that going, but he has no power. He's not a guy that's going to really hurt you with power. He's going to look to kind of throw that volume, where Piper has monstrous power overall, can easily defend these takedowns. I think he's way more explosive, way more stronger. And this is a spot where I believe, yes, you got the minus 275 mark here. I think this is a spot where Piper can absolutely get this knockout. And the knockout right now, you're looking at DraftKings is plus 125. I like it. I think it's the most likely path. I don't believe that he's going to look to wrestle. I don't think he's going to look to kind of have that opportunity to kind of, get control time on Hermansson or look for a submission on Hermansson. I think that he's going to do whatever it takes to stay on the feet. And I don't think this is one that's going to get to the scorecards. If it gets to the scorecards, that could favor, just volume-wise, it could favor Hermansson, that type of path. But I don't think this is going far. I think this is going to be Piper pushing the pace, getting on him, landing the bigger shots on the older guy, and I think the knockout's live. So I'm taking Joe Piper via knockout plus 125. Now, the next one we're going to talk about here is going to be Michael Johnson minus 135. Versus Darius Flowers plus 114. Now you got Johnson here. He is longtime vet with the UFC, good hand speed, good boxing. You got Flowers on the other side here. It's his second UFC fight. He's got some big power overall and very, very aggressive. Now, when you look at Johnson's career, I mean, this guy's fought everybody. I mean, he's been in the UFC, I think it was since 2011 or something like that. And he's fought a lot of top guys, and no doubt he's had some success. He's had some not success, and there's definitely been that situation where he's been kind of that journeyman kind of guy. Now, he definitely has good boxing, good footwork. He works his angles pretty well, and his hand speed really is kind of what's kept him in the UFC. I think that he just has really quick hand speed, and that is kind of, certain guys aren't able to kind of keep up with that, and that was kind of his edge. And now you're kind of looking at it where the decline could be here. Now, I think this is where the decline is starting to come for Michael Johnson. He's 2-6 out of his last 8. And when you also look at it, he's 37 years old, and you can't always go off of age because that obviously is, but it's a part of it where you're looking at a guy who's 37, who's 2-6 out of his last 8, has been knocked out a couple times. And the biggest part is that most recently he was brutally brutally knocked out by Diego Ferreira. And if you haven't seen that, you should check it out. But he was absolutely sparked out cold. And this was a fight, where his most recent fight, where Johnson was supposed to have the striking advantage, the boxing advantage, all those things. And if Ferreira can kind of get him on the ground or utilize some grappling, that that could be his path. And he goes out there and knocks out Johnson, where Ferreira has 18 victories, 4 are by knockout. That was the 4th one over his entire career. So this is a guy that does not possess power, typically is not knocking guys out, and Johnson goes out flat. And that, to me, is absolutely a terrible sign for him. Now, on the other side here, and also you got to add in the MMA mileage, just in total MMA mileage. You gotta add that in there, where just he's had wars, he's had brawls, and now at 37, he takes that. That's terrible. Now enter Darius Flowers, where Flowers here, explosive guy, will move forward, high pace, will push forward, and the youth, big time on his side, 8-year difference again here when we're looking at it. And also the fact that I do believe that this Darius, I think, should be the favorite in this spot here. And I think it's a little bit of Darius, his debut. Now, his debut, he comes in on short notice against Jake Matthews and loses. But he fought well, and it didn't look good because he comes in on his debut and gets finished in the 2nd round. But Jake Matthews is a tough out for anybody. I mean, anybody who fights this guy, tough out, absolutely a tough out. And he was able to kind of, look decent. I got to say, Darius Flowers on short notice in a debut, terrible things against you, looked decent and ended up getting finished. And now we're going to get a full camp on a guy that, facing the older guy and those types of things. Now, I like the boxing and the aggressive style of Darius Flowers. I think Johnson's going to be typically more kind of on the outside. I think he's going to kind of look for possible takedowns, but I don't think he's going to get them there. Darius Flowers is the stronger guy. I think he's going to have the better wrestling. I think he can kind of defend some of those. I also think that he should implement his own. I think Darius is going to look for takedowns for himself and fight. We've seen him power slam guys and just throw them to the ground. I think he's doing that to Michael Johnson, and that's where some of these things could pick up the pace, whether he's going to bank around or land the big shot. I think that's going to work out well for him. And also the fact that just the pure durability of Johnson could be in question in this spot. And the one shot that you got to look out for on Saturday, I think is going to be the big overhand, where Darius has big power. I think he's going to maybe fake a takedown or maybe kind of disguise it and throw a big overhand and absolutely flatten him. So I think the KO is absolutely live on Flowers, but at plus money, at plus 114, I'm taking Darius Flowers, money line. I think he gets the job done there. And the next one we're going to talk about, the last one, is Carlos Prates minus 265 against Trevin Giles plus 215. Now, this fight here, you got Prates, who is Muay Thai striker. The guy has really insane kicks. I mean, the kicking arsenal this guy possesses is insane with knockout power. And you've got Trevin Giles, who's well-rounded guy overall, good jab, good footwork, and those kinds of things. Now, the way this fight, I believe, is going to play out is going to be more on the feet. I think they're really going to, I think Giles can look to get a takedown and can look to kind of do some of those things, kind of mix it up, because I think that he's not going to want to stand and bang with Prates. I think Carlos has so much weaponry standing that I think Giles may look for the takedowns. But the thing with Giles is that that's not his thing. He's not going to go out there and dive at legs for 3 rounds. He's the kind of guy that, may mix it up, but he's going to look, he's going to stand, he's going to throw. He believes in his striking. He's got, he's got that nice jab, really slick jab that he can fight behind. And those are the things that can work out for him. But overall, I've never been that impressed with Giles. He's 2-3 out of his last 5. The only guys that he beat was Kosi and Parsons, and Kosi is terrible. And Parsons, I thought that Parsons beat him. I think it should be 1-4 out of his last 5. I thought Parsons actually beat him. So when you're looking at that, Parsons drops Giles. If Parsons can drop Giles, I think there is no problem at all that somebody of the striking caliber of Carlos can go out there and land the big shots, land the knockout shot. I think that's going to really, I think he's levels above anything that Trevin Giles is going to offer when you're talking about the stand-up game, the striking game. And also the power. Prates 17 wins, 12 by knockout, and he's going to have that 4-inch reach advantage, which I think is going to help him also really land the big shots, mixing it up. I think it's way too much for Giles in this spot here. So you got Prates, he's minus 265. I like via knockout. It's around even money, around minus 105. I like that spot. I think it's the most likely path. We've also seen that has been his most likely path. And I think Giles is going to be a willing dance partner, throwing in the middle, exchanging. So I do like it. So for me in this spot here, I'm taking Carlos Prates via knockout, minus 105 to get the job done. So there you have it for UFC Vegas 86. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. Also, Underdog Fantasy, link down there as well, too. And let's keep it going, man. 2024 has been good. Let's keep this shit going. We've got a ton of events coming up. I think it's almost like through middle of April. So we've got events after events after events coming up. And that's a great way for us to increase our bankroll. So let's keep it going and let's cash.